Hey there, Mercer Island educators! As we gather for Tech Day 2024, I can't help but think about how tech has evolved just like I have over the years. With AI shaping a new era, let's embrace the change and innovate in teaching like never before. And now, please welcome our amazing Superintendent Fred Rundle. Let's make today unforgettable.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another awesome school year. It's so great to be back. As you can see, the tech coach has had a little fun with me, getting ready for today. So as we come back together today, just a couple of things that I wasn't even planning on saying, but remembered in just a conversation with Curtis a few minutes ago. In my first year, when I stood before you and came in as superintendent, talked a little bit about, it's not always about being your very best every single day, but you try to put forth your best effort every single day. And as I was planning for this, I was thinking I should take some of that advice as well, because it's never going to go absolutely perfectly. But today is really about taking a stroll down memory lane. And so, as we think about technology, I pulled together, and I'm going to talk about a few of these artifacts in preparation for today, just thinking about how has technology changed? How has it moved through our own careers as we've gone through? Right up here on our board, I remember working in my parents' classrooms, preparing for the school year, and I saw a few of you over the weekend as I was in the schools. But as we were running through the halls and getting excited about the school year, I was reminded that my parents always used to call this one place the LMC. And it took me so long to figure out what is the LMC, and it feels so antiquated and yet so relevant today. And that was the Library Media Center. And it was a confusing piece. But on the back side of this is an amazing kind of historical walk through probably May and June for the drama team. There are some incredible quotes on the back of that whiteboard right there. I think my favorite one, which if we were in an elementary school, we might have the cops involved. If we were in our middle school, we would certainly have had a pretty good reaction. And in the high school, nobody cares. And it says, "Whoever took my Caesar salad out of the fridge, I'm going to stab you." And so a reminder of how our kids change, just like technology. So if we take a look at the Eras tour, it was always a little strange to me. It kind of continues to be strange to me that someone who's had a career over 18 years already has 10 eras. As I think about eras over time, I really think about lengthy periods of time, what's been accomplished. It might be over many decades where you get an era. But Tay-Tay's pushed my thinking a little bit, and I've been really thinking about, well, maybe it's not about time. Maybe an era is a little bit different. And so I've kind of shifted my thinking a little bit in that eras are measured more by what's the impact? What has actually happened? The what is great, but what's the impact of that on time? And I think technology, as we think about that, has certainly impacted our careers as educators moving through. And so then I thought about, well, some eras are more frustrating or disappointing to others. And I thought, okay, so how might I be able to illustrate this? So I brought a couple of other props, and I thought about this era in my life with John Albert Elway. And this was a great era. 2 Super Bowls, many Super Bowls, went on to be a GM and others. And then I think about this era here, and this jersey's made appearances each of the last 2 years, and I think that this era might be the last one. So we'll go ahead and put that there in that era for now, and we'll just remember the good times in some of our eras there. So eras we have to think about, but they're always impacted by people. That people shape eras, and that can be really positive, that can be really negative. But in a school district, we've had many individuals come through our school district. And what's always remembered, or is always important to remember, is that there isn't one person that's bigger than the school district. That the school district is the system, our schools are the system, and they're going to continue on. But it is important to think about the individuals and what are those impacts that they make and how do they shape different eras. But our end goal is that we're only here for a period of time. Some of us might be here for 1 or 2 years, some of us might be here for an entire career. If you're Vicky White-Wiltoon, you're going to be here for 4 decades and really set the bar for us. But as we think about it, it's really about improvement. And it goes back to, it's not about being perfect every day. It is about trying to get better each day and continue to work forward. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about a tech legacy and continue that stroll down memory lane. And I want to take us back to kind of the early 90s, in a period of time when we had an educator come through our school district. And this educator began, and I would say, is the teacher era. And as that teacher was working through the school system, then there was kind of this tinkering era, where this educator was tinkering in the background and probably doing things trying to be a little bit under the radar and maybe a little bit sly about some things, but then started to get noticed. And the impacts that this educator was making led to the creation of our very first ever website. And this educator was tapped by some others to say, hey, can you build us a website? We really need to get on this program and get a website. And then that led to what became really our first ever TOSA. We had our first ever technology TOSA because of this person, who then went on to be kind of this quasi-coordinator role. And if you look in the personnel file for this person, the contracts that this person had are amazing and completely made up. But I think it speaks to this person and the way that they were able to shift and change and really think about that impact each and every day. And that kind of led into kind of this parent volunteer era, because then all of a sudden we had, not just as an educator, this person was becoming a parent and their child was coming through the system. And then there was the director era, as this person then started to move into other roles, which led into this executive director era. And then retirement from the district, retirement heavy quotes on that, because in 2018 that went on to be a consultant, and we worked with this person as a consultant. And what I would say at the end is that this person really had a legacy era, and that person was Jennifer Wright. And Jennifer, as I was kind of getting ready for this year, there are many days that go by where I think about her. And I think about that impact that she's had. And it's been almost a year to this time last year when we lost Jennifer. And that is incredibly sad for humanity. It's incredibly sad for us. But what's joyful is all of the ways that she did impact us and continues to impact us. And so I want to talk a little bit around Jennifer's impact. So if you would, and I know that we have some people in here, if Jennifer was one of your teachers and you attended Mercer Island High School, would you stand up? And stay tuned. If you taught alongside Jennifer Wright when she was an educator here at Mercer Island High School, stand up. If you worked with Jennifer in any capacity where she was an instructional TOSA, whether or not she was a director, an executive director, a consultant, all of those roles, and you'll stand up. If you have accessed our website, if you have been on email, if you have been on the network, if you would stand up. beneficiaries of the Jennifer Wright era. And if you look around, you can sit down now, but if you look around, there isn't anything that you can do across this district where you're not impacted by this person. And so taking a look here, I'm the historian. Jennifer and I had a great friendship and working relationship, and I was always kind of the historian in our partnership, and then she's the scientist, so she's the innovator, pushing and moving forward, and I'm always the one trying to contemplate, okay, well, if we do that, what's going to be the impact? Is there anything we can learn from the past that might predict what kind of problems that we're going to run into? And of course, things like this then emerged as we came through. But if I think about this going forward, I want to talk about some of these things in relationship to that. But before we do, we also have another awesome video that our history put together.
Technology in education. Let's begin.
And as they, let's give them a hand. So as I watched that video for the first time, I said, wait a minute, I don't even have to go backstage into the prop rooms of Daniela and Katie's magic shop back there. We have this stuff right in our schools. And so I went searching into the library, and thank you, Erica, down at Lake Ridge, and thank you to our teams across, because I raided the cabinets across our school district and realized that we're actually holding on to all of these things from the past. and they work. Now, this is my favorite one here. And before I go into this, there was an educator. Well, I'll call her out because unfortunately she left for another district. Her family moved. But kindergarten, for those of you who are the kindergarten teachers, used to do the units around hatching chickens. And part of that process with that was called candling. And as the eggs were fertilized and as the chickens were growing, they would use these magical things to candle and be able to see them as they go. And this educator actually thought that these things were created just for candling. And that was Heidi Clark. And when I was down at Lake Ridge and talked to her, and she thought that that's what these things were really created for. And we had to explain, these are film strips. And we used to put film in these things, and there would be a little beat along the story. And
Into with rice by Maurice January. In January, it's so nice.
And so we used to teach with these things, or we learned in our classrooms with these things. We had projectors. If you were a Napster fan, this thing would have been the holy grail right here if you would have had this back in the day. Because then you were downloading Napsters, and then you just come in here and you open up these. You can burn multiple CDs at a time and burn these all together. We had these amazing things where multiple kids could actually plug into the same system around the center, and we could put on these headphones. And then, of course, we actually still have these. So if you have some old ones at home, we do rent these out. You can come in and you can use these, and you can watch your DVDs and your old VHS. If you've got some old Ramona and the Pest videos and others, and we have some others, but there's the Holy Grail. And this one, I think, started down at Lake Ridge, and it's found its way to one of the tech offices. But this one right here, this is the Holy Grail for our school district. And that is an original Macintosh computer from 1991. A tip of the cap right there to that, but 1991 when we had that. And we still have this amazing stuff around. And I found out this morning maybe why. Because I was talking to Mike Wright, Jennifer's husband, right before this, and he reminded me that as much as she was an innovator in advance, she held on to everything. He has 26 pairs of glasses from Jennifer at his house still, because she never wanted to get rid of anything. And so we have these relics from the past to be able to look at. Now, if you were here during the Jennifer Wright era, she did the Jennifer Wright show. And she always took time at the beginning of this, and she would show us innovative things. And that's why I could never recreate that. I would never try. But we can look into the past and see some of the things that Jennifer probably purchased. She probably broke into them, made them better, rewired them, and tinkered with them. And hers were way better than any of ours in our classrooms. But it's a strong tip of the cap to an educator who made an incredible difference in all of ours. So the speed of technology, it is picking up, it's continuing, it's exponentially growing. We've heard all of those things. And 10 years ago, we were talking about the cloud. And it's getting harder and harder to actually have artifacts because things have moved into this cloud. And then 10 years later, we're talking about AI. And last year, we spent our entire opening around AI. What's AI doing for our educational systems and structures, and what's it doing for our daily lives as we go through? And then it's a reminder that I think what I learned from before is important, and that is that, these moments in time, we remember them, but it's the eras that never die. It's the ones that impact us most that never die. And so for the first time ever, we're going to start a new tradition here in our school district. And on Technology Day, which was probably Jennifer's very favorite day of the entire school year, we're going to have a new award. And it's going to be given out each year to an educator or a group of educators who have really demonstrated some of the attributes. And it's the Innovative Educator Legacy Award. And as I give this out for the first time this year, first I want to bring up Mike Wright, Jennifer's husband, who's here today, as well as Jim.
have the chance to say a few words. Thank you. First off, I feel like I'm in our story shoots. As I told Fred this morning, one of the things that maybe I didn't really realize about Jennifer is that Jennifer never threw anything away. And so all of this stuff, Fred, you didn't need to go to Lake Ridge. We had this computer. This is where it all started. So anyway, I wrote a couple words here. I think some of you may know I lecture at CLU, and I could write an equation up and talk for an hour, but when I talk about Jennifer, I need to know some words. So first off, Tracy, as many of you know, our son, a proud North Rhode Island school system graduate, sends his apologies for not being here today, but he is starting his 4th year as a high school social studies teacher in Beaverton, Oregon, and he's probably sitting in there. The next thing I wanted to say is, thank you, Fred, for honoring Jennifer's legacy. No question, this was her favorite day of the year. She worked on this all year, okay? But as summer would come, I would start to see her putting this together. And all I can really say is this brought her so much joy. This is what she wanted to do. So I guess in other words here, again, thank you for honoring her legacy. And I just want to leave you with her enthusiasm for technology. And you guys all know how enthusiastic Jennifer was for technology. But to her, technology was just a tool. Her true passion, her true love was education. And if there was anything that got her up in the morning all the way to the end was, how can I help my students, the students of North Rhode Island School District, and my colleagues be the best that they could be? And technology was just a tool to get her there. So again, thank you for remembering her. That's amazing, as I said to Fred, being remembered is so powerful. And Tracy and I wish you, nothing but the best for the year ahead. Thank you very much.
So, in thinking about those who have really continued to hold near and dear to all of our hearts the impact of Jennifer, and thinking about her roles and those eras of Jennifer's career, and being the very first really technology coach or technology teacher on special assignment. I think going forward, we will certainly have this group of people be the ones helping us select it. But the very first winners and the award winners of this award of our Jennifer Wright, you go ahead and hold it up, of our Jennifer Wright Innovative Educator Award are our 5 technology coaches. Come on up, coaches. He's almost here. He's racing down the stairs. In a minute, we'll be like the Price is Right. There's Millsap. Come on down. Here she goes. These these 5 people and others make this day possible. They make so much possible in our classrooms, and so much of their work is transparent, and yet it's not. And I know that we depend on this group each and every day in those just-in-time things, but also they're thinking in the future. And so it will be up to them in future years to think about the next educator or group of educators. But in thinking about Jennifer Wright and the impact that she's had, we will now have this award to remember her for many years to come. And so to the 5 of you, thank you so much for all you do. And when I think about Jennifer, and I also think about all of you, I think about our organization and our systems, and we've talked about these 4 Bs for the past several years. And as a reminder, the real importance of these is that they help us get out of the fray of talking about maybe politically charged terms. And whatever those might be, these 4 things, at least to me, aren't things that we can argue about. People push back on things all the time, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's anyone who can push back on this mission that we have, which is how do we remove barriers for kids? And some of that's through technology. How do we make sure that every kid knows that we believe in them? How do we make sure that we instill that deep sense of belonging? And then certainly, how can we make sure that we broadcast their voice? And then we flip that mirror on ourselves and we say, that's also important to us as adults. How do we make sure that we all belong, that we all continue to broadcast our voices? We're removing barriers, and certainly that we believe in each other and we believe in our school district. And so as we think about our school year and some of the themes ahead, I think they resonate through what you heard from Mike about Jennifer, but also about the things that we're working on, and that is that deep sense of belief, and that's 3rd B of the 4. We started off with broadcasting. Last year was more about belonging, and those don't stop. But we do start thinking about belief and how do we instill that self-efficacy in our kids so that they believe in themselves, because once they believe in themselves, their potential is absolutely limitless. And we see that magic happening across this district throughout the school year. And then certainly building trust and working about organizational trust and trust in our community and trust in our school district and each of us. And then certainly thinking about that impact, because as I think back to that reflection I had about eras, that it's not about that length of time, that we can have an era in 1 year if we're thinking about how we're remembering things, but more important about how are we impacting our students, how are we impacting our system. And the last one is always going back to our why. Why do we show it up each day? Why do we care so much about this profession? And it goes back to our mission, and our mission about making the world a better place. And so I am extremely excited about the school year. It was great last week to be in schools. It didn't make them to all 6, but we'll finish that tomorrow. But just thinking about the collective work of this group. And I am humbled and honored and extremely proud to be the superintendent of our school district. And while that's the title, it's really an educator just alongside all of us, trying to do our very best each and every day. So I'm excited about our year ahead. I appreciate everyone being here, all the work that's gone into it. And let's have an awesome school year. Let me bring in Jamie to get us caught up as we think about our school year, but really thank the people who make this day possible. So thank you very much. Look forward to an awesome year.